we will do it again. The Espionage Act, on its face, doesn't seem like a bad idea. We should have a law that prevents people from spying on the country. And if you're spying, yeah, you're going to hurt the war effort. We can't have that happening, so we're going to throw you in jail. But that's not where it stops. It goes a little bit further. It makes it illegal to cause or attempt to cause insubordination, disloyalty, mutiny, refusal of duty in the military or naval forces of the United States, or to willfully obstruct the recruiting or the enlistment service of the United States. So this guy Schenck is passing out basically anti-war pamphlets. Really what they say are pamphlets or piece of paper encouraging people not to join the war, encouraging people not to, if they got drafted, don't go to the war, don't fight this war. It's a bad war. We're serving the corporatists. We're serving the elites. We're helping out the rich. We're helping out the imperialists. We should have no business in this war. And as he passes out those flyers, he's arrested and thrown in jail. You're probably screaming to yourself, you can't do that. Yes, they can. The Espionage Act. Remember when we said it went too far? It says if you willfully obstruct the recruiting or enlistment service of the United States. He's getting in the way of people joining the military. And the Espionage Act says that's illegal. And you're screaming, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. First Amendment of the Constitution says you can say whatever you want. You have the freedom to say. And if he wants to speak bad about the war, if he wants to tell people that you shouldn't join the war, he should be protected. Well, the Espionage Act says no, you can't. The Espionage Act is a law that says you cannot obstruct the recruiting or enlistment service of the United States. So it goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has to look at the law, and they have to look at the Constitution to decide, okay, what are we going to do? Does this violate the First Amendment of the Constitution? If so, then we have to throw out the Espionage Act and tear it out, because nothing can violate the laws written in the First Amendment or any part of the Constitution. And most people clearly say, look, this is great and all, but this is violating freedom of speech. What the Supreme Court will say, as this ruling, Schenck versus the United States, freedom of speech is not absolute. Your freedoms in the Bill of Rights and other rights that exist are not absolute. They have limits. There are limits to every single freedom. You can't go into a movie theater, and this is what Oliver Wendell Holmes, the Supreme Court Justice here, will say. You can't go into a movie theater that's crammed full of people and scream fire, because then people are going to rush out. People are going to get injured. Your speech cannot hurt people. That's where we draw the line. You have freedom of speech, but it's not absolute. There are limits. Where do we draw that line? Where is the limit? He says the limit comes when you endanger people, like going into a movie theater and screaming fire. Someone can get hurt. Your speech is no longer protected at that point. The words used create a clear and present danger that they will bring about the substantive evils that the Congress has a right to prevent. So he is saying the government has the right to pass the Espionage Act. The government has the right to pass laws that limit speech if that speech creates a clear and present danger. If that speech can harm someone, then the government can create laws that limit that speech. This law limits that speech because they argue that what he is doing creates a clear and present danger. You're saying, well, what clear and present danger did he create? By passing out the anti-war pamphlets, encouraging people not to join the military, he is hurting the war effort. That's creating a clear and present danger. If we can't win the war, it puts our soldiers and our country in danger. And so they will argue that his actions did create a danger. They did create a substantive evil. Thus, his speech is not protected and he goes to jail. We still have this today. This is the stare decisis. This will often be cited when we look at what speech is tolerated and what speech is not tolerated. Your freedom of speech is not absolute. There are limits. Again, if you put people in danger, if you harm people with your speech, that's where the line is crossed. So sometimes we get an argument of, well, did you harm them or not? That's another case for another day. But this precedent has been settled. Your speech is not absolute. Also, the other big takeaway from Schenck, United States, this is still on the books. The Espionage Act is still on the books. And so if your speech creates a clear and present danger or substantive evil, the government can limit it. The government can also continue to pass laws that limit it going into the future. They can pass new laws that limit speech as long as the argument's made that, we're limiting that speech because it's creating a clear and present danger.